Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at Noon.
A hit-and-run driver damages several cars parked in a Lexington neighborhood.
We'll show you which section of the Mountain Parkway is now open for traffic.
Hey, no surprise here. Another beautiful day in store. A lot of blue skies. That takes us off to the weekend, too. So we have quite some time before we actually see some rain move on in. But it does move in for the weekend, parts of it at least. And I'll show you when you can expect that coming up. WKYT News and News starts right now.
And good afternoon from WKYT News. Bill Bryant and Barbara Bailey reporting.
We start with a national breaking news alert out of our nation's capital. Attorney General Eric Holder has announced he's stepping down from his position later today.
He has been the head of the Justice Department for 6 years. Holder is the first black Attorney General, and his tenure is the fourth longest on the job ever. A White House official says President Obama will accept Holder's resignation this afternoon. He plans to remain at the Justice Department until his successor is in place, which of course would require Senate approval. Back in Kentucky, a woman is facing charges this midday after a series of hit-and-run crashes in a Lexington neighborhood this morning.
Several cars were damaged on Malibu Drive around 5 o'clock this morning. Police have now cited a woman for the crime. WKYT's Whitney Wetzel talked with a neighbor who says she saw it all happen. It's our top story at noon. Whitney?
Several people who live in this area woke up to find their vehicles had been damaged by a hit-and-run driver.
No, never seen nothing like that before. It was scary.
Karen Crane woke up around 5:30 this morning to a loud crash outside her Malibu Drive home.
I heard a second loud noise like a hit, but the second hit was metal grinding.
Crane ran outside to see a silver Charger driving into several cars along the street.
I'm like, what is he doing? Why is he doing this? And is he going to stick around? Apparently not.
By the time police got to the neighborhood, they found the woman responsible already inside of her home. Officers cited her with leaving the scene of an accident and driving without insurance. Although it's unclear what led up to this incident, Crane says it's not uncommon for hit and runs to happen along this busy stretch of road.
All the time there's cars being hit right here.
That witness also told us that one couple who lives in this area owns 3 of the cars that were hit. In Lexington, Whitney Wetzel, WKYT.
Now, police tell us at least 7 cars in that area were damaged.
New at noon, a fugitive out of Maryland has been arrested here in Kentucky. The Laurel County Sheriff's Office says Patrick Johnson was caught late last night off American Greeting Card Road south of London, just north of Corbin. Johnson was wanted out of Maryland for stealing a truck. Deputies recovered that truck a few miles from where Johnson was arrested. He is now awaiting extradition back to Maryland. The arrest occurred off American Greeting Card Road 12 miles south of London. Deputies received information on the possible whereabouts of a person there wanted by Maryland State Police out of Salisbury, Maryland. Also this afternoon, a man wanted for a deadly shooting in Tennessee is behind bars in eastern Kentucky this midday. State police arrested Andrew Beverly at the commissary in Harlan County. Police in Sevier County, Tennessee say that Beverly is a suspect in his wife's death. She was found dead yesterday in their driveway. A witness told police that he saw Andrew Beverly shoot his wife during an argument.
A memorial service will be held tonight for a Kentucky teacher killed in South America. 22-year-old Erica Hagen was a recent graduate of Georgetown College. She was found dead earlier this month in her apartment in Chile, where she was teaching English. A security guard at the Chilean school has been arrested in the case. Tonight's memorial is in Owensboro. Georgetown College is also planning a memorial service, but a date has not yet been set. Well, the nice weather continues today with sunny skies and more summer-like temperatures, and we're expecting much of the same for most of the weekend. WKYT meteorologist Micah Harris is live now in our First Alert Weather Center with all the details, stuff we really want to hear about, Micah.
Yeah, I think you do, because as we head toward the weekend, it still looks really nice. The only change that you're going to be seeing, not really seeing, but feeling the temperatures, and those will continue to rise each and every single day. We're in the 70s here at noon. We haven't been in the 70s at noon in almost a week now, so you are seeing some warmer air kind of move on in. Richmond at 72, and the common denominator from all those pictures, blue skies. Looks phenomenal. It's going to stay that way the rest of the day. Temperatures will be in the upper 70s, and even some lower 80s going to be popping up over toward the west and toward the southwest. Going overnight, not as cool. Starting off in the 50s for all, and you can see a pretty good looking Friday in store. That takes us to the weekend, and remember, we talked about it this morning. This weekend has a couple of changes in here and there. Most of it will be nice, but we will look toward the end of the weekend to see some rain kind of slide on in. How much are we expecting, though? Well, I'll show you that forecast coming up.
Get that answer in a bit, and we thank you. And the much anticipated completion of the Mountain Parkway expansion is expected to bring some relief to travelers in eastern Kentucky. Today, one section opened up to vehicles getting on and off at Kentucky 974. WKYT's Rebecca Smith is in Clark County with more on how the state is also being able to save some money on the project. Rebecca?
The ramps just opened up today, connecting the Mountain Parkway with Kentucky 974 in Clark County. State leaders hope that by opening up the traffic, they're also opening the doors of opportunity to eastern Kentucky.
What started as a $753 million road widening project is now $40 million less, according to Kentucky Governor Steve Beshear. He says engineering improvements led to a reduced budget. The prospect of an expanded 46-mile-long four-lane parkway is closer in the rear view than ever, connecting central to eastern Kentucky.
Everybody knows what happens when you have the equivalent of an interstate running through your area. Development happens, businesses locate, things start happening, it becomes a vibrant area.
State leaders will also be analyzing ways to identify other cost-saving measures when it comes to the Mountain Parkway. Work is expected to be done on a 5.5-mile section of the parkway in the next year west of Salyersville. Reporting in Clark County, Rebecca Smith, WKYT.
And thank you. And the governor says that another part of improving the economy of eastern Kentucky is to bring that broadband internet service to the area as well. A committee working to redraw school lines in Fayette County will meet later today. 3 new schools are in the planning process, including a new high school. That meeting will begin at 4:30 this afternoon. It's been moved from its original location. The meeting will now be held in Conference Room C at the Fayette County Public Schools main office on Main Street.
Kentucky Kingdom closes out the season this weekend, and it's going out on a high note. The Courier-Journal says the amusement attracted nearly 600,000 visitors during its summer comeback. That's better than expected. Leaders are already planning to spend about $10 million to build 5 new rides for next year. Daily admission and season pass prices will stay the same. Louisville Slugger has been making baseball bats, of course, for more than 100 years.
But there's one very popular model that is being taken out of circulation for good. The P72 is the bat that Derek Jeter has used his entire career. Louisville Slugger says it is retiring that model in honor of the retiring Yankee. Meanwhile, Jeter fans paying outrageous prices just to see him play tonight in his final game in Yankee Stadium. Some tickets reportedly going for an average of $640, even though there's somewhat of a chance that that game could be rained out. They want to see Jeter play.
A fixture in downtown Lexington is moving after 7 years in the same location. Our partners at the Herald-Leader report that the Dunkin' Donuts on Main Street will close next Tuesday. It's set to reopen at Richmond Road and Mount Tabor next month. The operating partner tells the Herald-Leader that the new store will allow for a drive-through, which accounts for 50% of its business. The downtown store's most well-known customer, Coach Cal, says he may try out that new location.
And interestingly close to another donut location out there as well. All right, coming next, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is garnering support for the U.S.-led coalition against ISIS.
We'll have reaction from the UN General Assembly next on Kentucky's #1 midday news.
Also ahead on WKYT, someone out on the West Coast is holding a Powerball ticket right now worth $225 million. Find out where it was sold and about a winner in Kentucky as well. Coming up on WKYT News at noon.
Welcome back to WKYT News at noon. U.S.-led forces launched a third night of airstrikes against ISIS fighters in Syria.
They're trying to destroy targets that are keeping the terror group in business. Tina Kraus has the latest.
Warplanes from the U.S. and 2 Arab allies reportedly destroyed a dozen oil refineries and killed at least 14 ISIS fighters overnight in eastern Syria. The Pentagon believes the facilities controlled by ISIS produced revenue for the terror group.
We didn't completely obliterate them off the map, but you can take a look and see that they're not going to be pumping any refined oil out, petroleum, anytime soon.
U.S. officials say militants used the petroleum to run their own vehicles and also sold it on the black market. The airstrikes came after President Obama condemned ISIS and other terror groups in a speech at the United Nations Wednesday.
The only language understood by killers like this is the language of force. So the United States of America will work with a broad coalition to dismantle this network of death.
The latest strikes were about half the size of Monday night's initial attacks, which targeted ISIS command centers and training areas. More countries are pledging military support for the U.S.-led battle against ISIS in neighboring Iraq. French fighter jets bombed ISIS targets in Iraq Thursday after extremists linked to Islamic State militants beheaded a French tourist in Algeria. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
And about 140,000 refugees, mostly Kurdish, have fled to neighboring Turkey to escape the advance of ISIS fighters. 1.5 million Syrian refugees are already there. Meanwhile, the U.S. Embassy in Turkey has issued a security warning urging U.S. citizens to be vigilant against possible terrorist attacks. This is in retaliation for U.S. airstrikes against the Islamic State group. The embassy says there's no information about any specific threats, but the possibility of terrorist attacks in Turkey remains high, and it's asking that Americans be extra cautious in Turkey's eastern and southeastern provinces.
A judge has granted a 2-month trial delay for Boston Marathon bombing suspect Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. The trial will now begin January 5th instead of November 3rd. Defense attorneys ask for it to be moved from Washington, D.C. so Tsarnaev can get a fair jury. But the judge said there is no reason to believe that a fair jury cannot be found in Massachusetts. They had asked that it be moved to Washington. Prosecutors say Tsarnaev placed 2 pressure cooker bombs near the finish line of the marathon last year. 3 people were killed, more than 260 were injured. Apple says it's working around the clock to fix a glitch in its new operating system. The tech giant has run into some glitches, with users complaining that a new software update blocked their calls. Apple has pulled the update and offered users a way to reverse it manually. There's also a new video circulating showing that the iPhone 6 Plus, the larger of the 2 new models, is vulnerable to bending. Apple didn't comment on reports of bending. Well, someone is waking up a whole lot richer. They're enjoying the moment after winning the $225 million Powerball jackpot.
Yeah, they're 3 hours behind out there, so maybe they're just getting up. Unfortunately, the winner's nobody around here, I don't think, unless Micah has it over there. A winning ticket was sold in San Mateo, California, and it matched all 6 numbers in last night's drawing. This is a look at the store where that lucky ticket was sold. The owners, just for selling it, will get $1 million. There is some good news, though, for folks here in Kentucky. A $1 million ticket was sold in the Commonwealth, and we've learned that that was in Louisville. Lottery officials confirming that it was sold in the Derby City. Here are the numbers if you want to check out, if maybe you know somebody in San Mateo. 7, 14, 21, 24, 41, and the Powerball is 26. Better luck next time.
Well, sometimes you don't want to check and see how close you might have been.
Right.
But next time.
Coming next, a man, in just a few minutes, a man arrested for firing shots into his neighbor's car is now facing even more legal trouble with them.
We'll have the latest on that case coming up in a report on WKYT News at 12:30.
We're in between 2 systems, one off toward the east coast, one back toward the west, but still seeing plenty of sunshine. And there's a reason for that. And there's a reason why we're going to stay that way throughout the weekend, well, at least most of it, until some rain moves on in. And I'll explain all that coming up with your zone-by-zone forecast next.
Now, your zone-by-zone forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris and First Alert Defender.
We are looking down in London and Laurel County. Big week and weekend there for you guys in Laurel County. It's probably the biggest weekend all year long. You got the World Chicken Festival kicking off, and people are starting to come on in. And look, it's going to continue to just back up as we work toward that 5 p.m. hour when the gates finally open and things get to go in there at the World Chicken Festival. So it's always a good time. Head down there and enjoy what you got today all the way through the weekend, and perfect weather for you guys. Let's look across the bluegrass first. Sitting there in the upper 70s. No rain expected once again. You work your way southbound London. You guys can expect temperatures nearing that 80-degree reading. I think Williamsburg and Russell Springs, no doubt about it. This is going to be the warmest section over toward Adair County, Columbia, Russell Springs, Lake Cumberland. Still, I don't think it's lake weather. Maybe this weekend for you guys could get some lake weather. We'll be there in the lower 80s for you guys. And over toward the east-southeast, looks pretty good. West Liberty will be kicking off their Sorghum Festival going on tomorrow and off into Saturday. It looks good there too. And up toward the northern zones, Maysville, you got the Pig Out event. It's called the Pig Out. Why not? Go up there and enjoy it in Mason County. Warmer days are ahead. 78 now. Looks like 80s there for the weekend for you. Friday night football, a perfect feel. It's mild, no really cool, well, let's say no real chill in the air. You could have some cooler air once we get toward the second half, but all in all, I think it looks really nice. Still got some festivals going on. Oktoberfest there in Danville. You'll be dealing with the lower 80s too. No rain chance there on Saturday, so that's all good. Sunday we'll bring in that rain, but really that's late in the day. Most of the day looks good. I think most of your weekend, about 80% of your weekend looks fantastic. It's going to be later on that evening there for Sunday. You start to see some rain move in. So you say 40%, hey, that's a pretty decent chance of rain. Not during the daylight hours, just really during the night. So all is well there for all those festivals trying to get away from the weekend, all right? Going into our next week, that's when we start to see a little bit more rain move in. It's not a washout by any means any of these days, but hey, it's a rain chance. We haven't seen it in a long time.
It's been a while.
It has been a while.
We're used to weather like this now.
We're liking it,
Getting a little spoiled,
yeah,
aren't we?
absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Coming next, Kentucky's quarterback is settling in nicely in his role as the starter.
And another of Cal's Cats hits it big in the NBA. Dave Baker's next with sports.
And checking stocks after a big day yesterday. Now a big tumble on Wall Street. The Dow is down 224 at midday.
$17 in a row. That's how many consecutive SEC games the Cats have lost since that season-ending win over Tennessee in 2011. Gritty kid with a big right arm grew up in the era of frustration, and now he hopes to lead his club to a 1-0 league start in 2014 with a win over Vanderbilt on Saturday. Patrick Towles has made significant improvement on the field since being named UK starting quarterback, but his teammates and coaches say his biggest jump is as the leader of this football team.
His leadership around the team is been effective. Like everywhere we went, he has that motivating voice that we all need, and we all look up to him as a leader on our team.
I think once you're named the starter, I think it's different just because you're now in control. You know, I think everybody's a little, waiting to see what happens, who's going to win the job. And then whoever wins the job, once they win it, boom, I think everybody gets behind him. And then the success he's had has benefited him also as far as leadership.
It's a noon kickoff on the SEC Network this Saturday. Kentucky and Vandy from Commonwealth Stadium. And after an oftentimes uncomfortable back and forth, former Wildcat Eric Bledsoe staying put in Phoenix. He reportedly has come to terms with the Suns for a 5-year, $70 million contract. Initially, Phoenix only offered $48 million for 4 years. Bledsoe was looking for the max deal, 5 years at $80 million. Neither side would budge in the negotiations until talks finally progressed in the last few days. Not surprisingly, just days before training camp set to open next week. Bledsoe missed much of last season after undergoing surgery to repair a torn meniscus. And finally, check out this video posted by Wildcat forward Alex Poythress on Instagram. Look at that. Over the head of Dakari Johnson for a dunk. Now, we all know how athletic Poythress is, but that is something else. Wonder if we'll see something like that on Big Blue Madness on October the 17th. Look at Dakari. He didn't think he was going to clear him. Tonight on the Big Blue Insider with Dick Gabriel, the Insiders Roundtable with former Wildcat Jeremy Jarman, Jeff Picoro of the UK Network, and the UK legend himself, John Kropp. That's at 6 on 630 WLAP. Much more as the Cats get set for the doors coming up tonight when we come back at 4. But just ahead, Barb and Bill back with more WKYT News at noon right after this.